start the work session. And public restroom hours, we don't have anything in here on that, so anybody wanna talk about it?
I would. So it was brought to my attention by a couple of shop owners on Center Street, both of whom own multiple stores, that particularly noticeable during the pandemic, with City Hall being closed, but primarily for renovations, of course, that there isn't nearby public restroom access for visitors. Obviously residents can always shoot home, but it would be a convenience for them as well, being on foot on Center Street, to have use of a bathroom in City Hall, which they would normally, had it not been for.
No, they wouldn't.
No, well, just to clarify, they would normally, if it, during the hours of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, if it weren't for the construction. So what they don't have access to by way of a public bathroom in that vicinity is, call it maybe from the hours of 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, and maybe similar hours on the weekends. These shop owners, they all have restrooms. Many became reluctant to allow them to be used by the public during the pandemic, because they're accessed by their employees as well, and some use them for overflow storage space for product. And historically, what they would have done absent the pandemic is send them across the way to City Hall during business hours to use the restrooms. People poke in those shops and say, excuse me, is there a nearby restroom I can use? And they're not there to shop in their store. With City Hall being closed, they've been sending them to the restaurants. Many of the restaurants are not too pleased about that. And many of the restaurants, for that matter, have signs posted for patrons only. They could come here if this were open during the hours of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Of course, this is closed. They can go to the Folly Park. They can go to the pier, which is county property. It's closed. They can go to our trailer on Second, but that's a long way to go if you're elderly, if you're a young mom or family with children in tow, that sort of thing. So I'm merely the messenger. And actually, since that time, a third shop owner who has one store, one of his employees posted something on, call it social media, that actually got a lot of comments about, there was some confusion, but people, many of them generally being in support of the idea. So again, I'm merely the messenger. I don't have a dog in the hunt other than to convey word of this. I think in a perfect world, what they would love to see happen is that the bathroom hours be extended, again, from, if our normal hours of operation once the building resumes functioning are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., we add 4 more hours from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, and we do the same on the weekends, 9 a.m. to call it 9 p.m. We could do it on a trial basis. I believe that there was access to that bathroom in the past, and of course we had a conversation about this before. It was a disaster, so that's why I say trial basis. And the other consideration, I don't know if you got an answer to this, with the reconfiguration of City Hall as it is, it would seem to me like we would have to limit the elevator to stopping at the lobby level and not providing access to the public if it's, call it after hours, 5 p.m.
I got your answer for that too.
Okay, so if we can't do that, to me it's probably a non-starter.
The people who made our elevator went out of business. So the elevator company, that elevator group, what's left, was bought by Tyson Crump. Those folks have a chokehold on parts. They're very expensive. The person that services our elevator says the best thing we can do with that antique elevator we have is to do just what we've been doing, pull it up to the first floor, lock it out at night time, and forget it. Don't try to go in and redo the configuration, don't try to redo the electronics, because one, you won't be able to get most of the parts, and two, you have to buy, anybody that does it will have to buy all the parts through Tyson Crump, or they'll have to go to Tyson Crump to have it done. And they are the most expensive elevator company around. And I know that from personal experience, dealing with them over at Oceanfront Villas, the pink condos, those guys are out of sight with cost.
So assuming that to be the case, the parts being cost prohibitive, the reason for the elevator consideration is, I had a separate conversation with Joe about ADA compliance. So even if the elevator were locked down, we wouldn't be ADA compliant because there's only stairs that lead to the new bathroom. So that again is why I say if we couldn't change the way that the elevator operates, after hours, it's a non-starter, so I'll stop there.
Completely? Or do you wanna hear the rest of it? 'Cause
Well,
I can jump into it, 'cause I do have a bit of skin in that game. I can tell you, you don't wanna do it. You don't wanna open up City Hall past the hours of 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Because it was a cluster, things were messed up, and you don't need to leave it open when it's not manned. As far as normal Monday through Friday, everybody's coming out of COVID now. Pier's gonna be opening soon, City Hall will be opening soon, so Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, those facilities will be open. And we have the community center in the River Park and things like that where they can use, if you go to Third West, Second East, there are other facilities around. And this is somebody who has that same sign up, that my restroom is for my patrons only, because I am quite tired of families going to my bathroom and taking a shower in my sink and leaving all their trash, their sand, half the beach with them, and they don't spend a dime in my place, because I pay for all that. So I get where the shop owners are coming from, but, some of them, if they're their customers, well, they need to let their customers use their restroom, and don't send them to restaurants, because we will send them right out the door. And that's absolutely absurd, and that's rude to your neighbor to do something like that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So that's on them. Monday through Friday when things open up, it's just fine for people to use those, but not, you don't wanna get into the maintenance costs. When we get into budget time and you see that cleaning contract and maintenance contract and all that go up, escalating because of that's open to the public, it's gonna be a whole can of worms you don't wanna get in.
Yeah, that's certainly something we talked about. How would you have to staff the bathroom in terms of probably hourly checking on it, making sure there's toilet paper is clean, what have you, and then additional wear and tear on the facility itself, so.
Yeah, we just spent, I can't tell you how much money I really didn't care for spending over there in that building. Definitely don't wanna see it get messed up in the first 6 months for bathroom access.
Fair.
I can speak, but, I see no reason why that, excuse me, I see no reason why that is our role, as a city to provide that service. I understand exactly what you said, the impact involved, but I also, from my previous life, know what happens with restrooms, unserviced restrooms, access to public, so, I hear it, but if I was a citizen, I'd be able to find a place to go to. If I was a visitor, I would honestly pay to go to a place and be a customer, or those are my choice, or walk, so.
Well, that's another part of it. Most people are customers in the commercial district, so they should be able to use the restroom in those stores which they're a customer. But going to a store you're not it's a slap in the face for that business owner when you leave your mess in there. And there's nothing wrong with go to the gas station, buy a soda, and use the restroom, buy a stick of gum. That is not unheard of.
I think there are options.
There are plenty of options in a normal walking distance of where those people are. We don't have to provide them bathroom access for where they stand. If they have to walk, 100 feet or 200 feet, that's perfectly acceptable. Fair enough.
Works for me.
Thank you, yes.
I did tell Councilman Parker that if y'all decided to do that the first time I got a call, he got to come clean them.
Well,
The next time it was gonna go to the next person.
All you have to do is
And
look
yet,
at Third West.
and yet I march forward, so for those that put this bug in my ear,
All you have to
know
do
that I
is
was
look at
committed.
Third West bathrooms.
Oh, my.
Third West bathrooms are unmanned, and we have countless repairs that we have to do over there. Countless cleaning because people go in there, they take toilet paper and throw the whole roll in the toilet and flush the toilets. Come on, we know what people are capable of. We see it all the time. We don't need to ask for it.
That's crazy, but,
What a visual, good for you though,
Yeah.
but,
I didn't scare me with that. But truly, when I was surprised about the elevator company being out of business, that elevator's for, since we just renovated City Hall, and we talked about the elevator.
Well, we know how old it is and how much it would have cost to replace, so
Yeah.
happy with the alternative.
Okay, so somebody wants to talk about RFP for website refresh.
So, in your packet, you've got a memo and a proposed RFP for, I guess it more properly called a communication strategy RFP. Last budget year, City Council approved $10,000 each for a website refresh and internal branding campaign. Those didn't happen, COVID happened, and then we got towards the end of the year and the beginning of this year, and at the strategic plan in January, the council identified X internal communications as a goal. So we thought it'd be a good chance to wrap all those related things up, roll it over to next year and go out to bid for it. One note about the memo here is I've got $20,000 rolling over from this year with an additional 20 for a total of 40. Since this memo was written, we've had some further discussions about what exactly we're asking for and the scope of the work that we're going to go out to bid for. And we feel like it may be more appropriate to put $30,000 in new money with this for a total of $50,000 for next year's budget, with $20,000 rolling over from this year. So that's just a correction of the memo. And basically, we wanted you guys to see the RFP, make sure that we are asking the questions that you want asked to our proposed bidders, so that when they come back with their proposals, they'll have proposed solutions to the different parts that the city's looking for. Basically, it breaks down into three things. We'd like someone to come in and give us I keep referring to it as a style guide for internal communications. Email signatures look like this, press releases look like this, Facebook posts look like this, that sort of thing. Just something to standardize the communications that come back and forth in the city. That's part one. I feel like that's kind of even the least complicated part. Use this font, tab over 3 times, underline, those kinds of things.
It would almost be like a template though, right? I mean,
Right, yeah.
you wouldn't want instructions that specific about use this font and tab over. It should just pop up where you fill it in.
Well, that's what we're asking for.
Right.
One company might come back with a 12-page binder, and the other one says, we'll provide you built-in formatted documents.
Are we commenting wherever as you go through it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought it worked.
Why do we need all that? I guess what I'm asking, why do we need a new logo?
We don't need a new logo. We want to make sure that our logo is used consistently across departments. Public safety memos look completely different from communications from the clerk of court, but communication is different from me. If you've ever gotten a memo or a letter from the city, you'll see that Eric's notice of violations look nothing like my letters to the senator.
Right.
So it's not asking for a new logo, it's just standardizing the format of our communications.
Maybe it's the price tag that has it, because I get that, but I don't see where $25,000 should be stood on that.
Okay, so
And I guess that's kind of,
So we're not
that's half the
recommending,
project.
we're not recommending specific dollar amounts to each one of these things. We're recommending a total of 50 for all 3. So this is imagined to be the least complicated, I think, in my mind, and maybe I'm completely ignorant. This would be the least complicated, least expensive part. And then as we go down, they get more technical and more expensive. So we're not saying a separate budget for each item. This would be a total budget for a complete package. So that's the first one. Again, that's kind of the evolution of what Spencer called an internal branding project, just so that everything the city does looks consistent and has a consistent corporate identity. We are a business. And then the second part is our external communication strategy, and this is what you guys picked up on at your strategic planning session. And this is more about evaluating the ways we currently get information out to the public, the methods we use, the mediums we use, the formats. How do we communicate things to the public? How do we target our message to particular audiences right now? And how that can be improved to incorporate latest, greatest best practices. And quite frankly, I'm ignorant of, and that's kind of why the RFP is a little vague. We didn't want to come back and say, tell us 3 ways to make our Instagram post better. We want kind of a broader look, like you should use Instagram and that sort of thing. So the external communications, I think, would be a bigger part. Just some random examples. We don't right now really have a way to measure other than Facebook analytics. We don't have analytics, and we don't know what messages are getting where. We don't really track who shares what and how it gets disseminated, that sort of thing. So this would basically come in, look at all the different things we have: Facebook, website, code red, email distribution lists, press releases. Say these are the tools you're using, these are tools you could use, and this is how you do all that effectively. Things that
But you're not looking for someone to manage the social media, like that will still be done
Right.
internally.
Yeah, we're looking for a communication strategy to make sure that we are appropriately getting the news out about the various things. And part of that would be identifying what you guys want people to know about. Mr. Barker is concerned, Councilman Barker is concerned about making sure everyone knows the building permit rules. Some other folks want to make sure everyone knows how to find city council meetings online. Helping us figure out what we want to get out and how to get it out. Because right now, there's not a list anywhere, what's the city's top 3 messages they need to get out to the public.
And all that, the various platforms that you would access to, and doing it sequentially so that it has a bigger impact on the general public outside watching or listening or doing at the moment.
So that's the second part. And the third part was originally, it's still called our website refresh. We're not sure how deep it's going to go, and I think that's kind of the driver of the budget here. We have a WordPress website that a couple staff folks know how to edit. It is a 2016-ish website, which is a long time in website years. It's not automated. It doesn't sort itself from these frequency words I don't even have. It's just an outdated website that's kind of grown organically as staff says, oh, we need to post the beach rules, and now we need to provide a link to the nourishment study, and there are all these things that kind of accumulated on the website. Is not the easiest to navigate, and it's not feature rich. Personally, I think the color and the font's terrible, but that's a personal decision. Basically, they have the same company come in and say, how is our website serving the purposes identified in the external and internal communication plans? And that might just be a complete redesign. It might be finding a new host. We don't know.
Would that include the monthly fees for hosting? Or is that separate?
I think it would be separate. This would then come in and say, you want widgets 1, 2, and 3. To do that, you're going to have to upgrade from WordPress to WordPress 8. I don't know. And that's, again, part of the reason why this is so vague is because we don't know what we don't know. So this RFP, to Dr. Hood's point, we're not committing tonight to spend $50,000 on this. The RFP all might come in at 20, or they all might come in at 90. But this is just you guys looking at this RFP and making sure it is asking for the questions that we want answers to from a professional group.
I think Ms. Ray kind of hit it on it, and I would hope that whatever the product is something that we manage and do in-house, and that we don't end up having proposals that say, put us on your payroll and pay us this much money every month and we'll update your website and we'll do all those things. I don't want to get into a subscription service with somebody. I'd like it to be where the tools are made available to our folks and our folks run with it.
Councilperson Gould, I mean, you have the experience. It was also your recommendation and strategic plan. So do you have anything further that you could educate us with?
Well, I'll look at this as an opportunity to really shine for the city with new technologies as we all embrace going forward. It's not necessarily what you do today, but what's it going to be like in 5 years? Nobody really knows. My experiences in building websites, obviously we do have something that's currently up and running, although not as effective or quite as good as I think all of us would want it to be. You get what you pay for in website development. If we're looking at communicating to a general public, in the thousands, it could be, it depends on how many bells and whistles that you do put in it. And again, the unknown of that. My big concern is, what is the cost for a website development? And I've asked around my sister-in-law was in, I think, Camden, and they built theirs for $40,000. That was just for the website build-out, period. And again, that was done several years ago. My concern is, will it be enough money? I mean, should we put in a contingency fund in case we do discover something, as Aaron was talking about, that we may need to add this mechanism to it to make it flow smoother for, again, new developing technologies that are around the corner. So my concern is the $50,000 going to be enough, and we'll be able to massage that a little bit if we do find something that we like and really could make us shine.
So my concern was the numbers, was the execution after.
Yeah, and that's a concern as well, because again, obviously we can feed this stuff, but if you've got a new mechanism that would come up, it's gonna cost money to upgrade it. And websites do need to be upgraded ongoing. I mean,
Well, that would be a question, right? Like,
and it is, I mean,
we pay for,
I'm
how
not,
easy
I'm
is
not
it
a
to update
professional at it,
and
and there
to,
are professionals at it.
right,
And they're probably gonna, whoever does the research will probably sub that out to a third party, that's all they do. And then, to Bill's point, some people do manage it, and I don't think we need to get deep into it, and again, but we will need upgrades occasionally, and that may come a year from now, 2 years from now. I don't, you know, you don't know what brings, you know, what brings the new technologies.
So what I understood was it's a cap of 50, because I went 50. And it doesn't lock us into anything, it's a cap.
It's not a cap of 50. What they're asking for is we have 20,000 set aside right now. What they're asking for is for us to set another 30,000 aside in this budget year. But that doesn't even guarantee a cap. There is no guaranteed cap of anything until a proposal comes back.
Right.
But we
Okay.
could advertise that our budget is $50,000. And when we speak about a cap, that would be what has been budgeted by city council. If we get 15 proposals and they all come in at $180,000, you guys always have the authority to increase the budget.
Or decrease.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, anytime we get a proposal back and it's been $10,000 over what we anticipated, we'll find a way to make it work if we need to. But, so there's no such thing as a cap.
Yeah, but this gives the vendors an idea of what the pot of gold is.
Right.
And so if they can't do it for less than 200,000, they won't respond, because they'll say there's not enough money there to make it worth our while. And that's when we'll see how many people respond to the RFP.
Another thing we can do is write into the RFP that they price these things separately. And so that way, you know, maybe the first two we can do this year, and next year we say, oh, well, we need to wait till next year to budget another
Phase it in.
$75,000 for the website.
That could be done. But the website is everything's gonna center around that, and all your.
A lot of this needs to be done at one time, like you said, because it centers around the website and everything kind of.
Everything.
So a lot of this
You know,
does have to
Visit
happen
Folly's
at once.
involved, and you've got a lot of the moving parts that, again, you don't know what it is till you get there.
Can of worms.
I
well,
think
this is
what
also a
you
way
need
to
do-
gauge, you know,
What you need to do
if we're in the
is
ballpark.
say, here's the website. Everybody has an idea of what needs to be on the website. You know, what I wanna see on the website is information. I wanna see the budget posted on the website, I wanna see the checks printed out on the website. I wanna see them be able to go find out what the billing rules are on the website, you know, that kind of stuff is what I wanna see. Other people wanna see other things, like connections to other places or whatever, you know, if you click here, it takes you to visit folly.com or something. So, I think first is kinda give Aaron some input, what you wanna see on the website, and then when the RFP is getting written, you know, it's kinda like, these are the kind of things that we want to see, that we need to see. You know, the ordinances need to be able to be there, and you need to be able to look them up pretty easy, if you have a question.
And I think we've got surprisingly a lot of talent on the island that can develop content for it, which is, you know, if you feel the content, people come to it. And that's what we want people to do, is to go to it, to get information, but also, you know, rules and regulations about littering, which is my big thing, is how do we communicate that to these people visiting or parking or whatever you would have, a mechanism, that people really want, you know, what is it that the public wants, that we could utilize that as a branding tool as well, if that makes sense. Because people, if you build it, they will come, but you have to build it right the first time, because there's no second chance in this thing. It's measure twice and cut once.
And that's kind of my point, you know, we need to have an understanding of what the council and the staff wanna see on the website, and then, you know, you might go out there and say, our budget is $50,000, and we come back and laugh and say,
Yeah.
you can't buy a Cadillac for $50,000, you know, so now, this is probably what you could buy,
Yeah,
but it won't be this.
Right.
And then you have to make a decision from there.
very true.
And staff, as far as this, we are not even worried about that yet. If there's a point person to help manage what we may think.
So the way this is written, the winning bidder their process would be to come in, interview city council, interview communication staff, people who touch the website, Facebook, Code Red, the news releases, find out what our needs are
Okay.
and work that way, rather than us coming to them and, because again, we don't know what we don't know.
That's what we're paying
So,
for.
so the proposals include their plan for evaluating what we do and how we do it and what we're missing. But we could definitely, I think, as the mayor said, give them an example list and say, for example, this, and this.
Yeah.
But there may be that, and that we just don't even know exists.
Yeah, to get A, you have to do C. To
Is
do
this-
C, you gotta get B in between the two.
Well, just compare with any local municipality's website. If you look at all of them, it's the information that's the vital part. I mean, that's number one, that's gotta go on there as the information. Forget about links to this or visit downtown or anything like that. No, we need the information on there for people to get. That's the number one thing in communication. We're trying to communicate all these things to them. So that's, and if you go to like the county website, there's more information in there than, I mean, a lot of books. I mean, it's just loaded with information, but you can find anything you want. I mean, it's very useful.
Is this the fastest we can do it? Because right now you got proposals are due by January, June, but I know that's probably a June 30th on page 8. You want them in by June 8th, but by then the budget's set. So we'll be getting proposals in. To DJ's point, or Mr. Rich's point, you know, if it goes 10,000 over, then we'll be looking at a fixed budget and having to make a change to the budget. Where if we could speed this up by a couple weeks, we might be able to put it in the budget.
Well, we wanted council to sign off on the RFP. If you guys are good with it, we'll run with it right now. We can back it all up for a month. The next opportunity we have to go back and take the comments you've given us tonight and give it back to you formally is in May, at the May council meeting. So we can pull the trigger even after May, but still we want to make sure it's adequate time to circulate and people have time to do all the research for it. In terms of the budget, this is sort of a cat and a chicken and an egg with the budget. If you guys think it needs more money, then we can put more money in the budget and I'll adjust my RFP. We put $50,000 because we thought that was a reasonable request that we could fly in the budget request. I can go back and amend the proposed 2020.
I think it's reasonable, but I don't think we'll find out it's unreasonable until we get some replies. By the time we get the replies, we're looking at a budget change to accommodate what we might want to do.
That's easy enough.
Aaron, I don't recall if it was in here, but is there a date, for instance, that the fees would be guaranteed through? So if we RFP, received proposals, decided that we wanted to shelve this until the next budget year, they would honor their pricing until X date in the future.
We don't have that, but we can definitely put it in there.
Even
How
if-
would you want them to guarantee it?
We're not gonna vote on this till the August 10th meeting. Even if it's the July 10th meeting, it's still after the budget. So, I mean, it really is, it's too late to add stuff to the budget already at that point. I mean, that's, you know, final reading time.
That's what I was saying, if we went with the RFP now, in 30
Well, that's what I'm
days,
saying,
we'd have an idea of what the costs are by the middle of May.
No.
Or we could incorporate.
Upping it, we don't look at the proposals till August, they don't look at the proposals till August 10th. We wouldn't look at them until that August council meeting. Even upping it a month is still July. That's after our budget's already been, you know, we've already done budget work by then.
I don't have a problem because I know this is going to be fluid. I know that there's a lot of factors and variables. So I have no problem with the timeline. I don't have a problem with seeking an RFP. And what I do believe is if we see that this is a strategic goal, it's necessary to begin, I'm more than willing to begin, and we see what happens. I don't think there's things we can kind of predict because frankly it's a first. So yes, now I know there's no cap, now I know certain things, but I'm fine with doing whatever we're supposed to do today or in 3 months or 6 months.
You can always shoot it down, just because you get RFPs back doesn't mean you have to go with any of them. You can say, we just decline and move forward with this project at this point and save every dime of it.
Okay. So we're gonna talk about this some more in a little while.
Okay, work
It's
session.
6:30, so we have to start our regular meeting.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know that?
Yes.
Okay. Let's do
6:30 meeting, man, I
Perfect.
forgot all about
Perfect
that.
timing.
That's great.
All right, so we'll call the roll.
Mr. Barker,
Here?
Mr. Farley,
Here.
Mr. Burns.
Here.
Dr. Hogan,
Yeah,
Ms. Ray,
Here.
Mr. Rich,
Here.
Mayor Goodwin,
Here.
and quorum.
Okay, so we're gonna have the invocation and the pledge of allegiance, but prior to the invocation, I was looking for a time to put this in. We lost an employee, Barry Campbell, very good employee. Everybody loved Barry. Barry seemed to love everybody. He always had a smile, always was helpful. So I'd like to just take a moment of silence before we do the invocation right now for Barry and his family, and everybody keep them in your prayers, and then we'll have the invocation and the pledge in just a moment. So we'll just have a moment of silence for Barry. Okay, so we'll have the invocation. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we ask that you be with us and help us in our decisions and make good decisions for the city of Folly Beach and the citizens of Folly Beach. We ask that you give us the wisdom that we need to do this with and the courage to do it as we go forward. We also ask that you help us to remember that this is work for the citizens, work for the city of Folly Beach, and work that we said we'd be here to do gladly and protect our public safety department, protect our men and women in the military across the face of the globe, and protect each and every one of us as we go forward today. These things we ask in your name. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so before anything else on the agenda, before anything else on the agenda, we have an executive session to talk about personnel, judge appointments. Do I have a motion to move to executive session?
So moved.
Second. Second. So we'll be going to executive session, we'll be turned off. I guess we could just go to the trailer. We could walk over